words that we really wanted to.
Where's your phone right now? It's probably nearby. Maybe it's in your pocket, charging by the wall, your kid's hands.
I'm using it.
If you can, get it, because it's more than a phone. It's your very own Navy Federal Credit Union branch. If you need to deposit checks, check your balance or transactions, or transfer money between accounts, do it with the Navy Federal mobile app. Go try it out.
Now, you may be wondering, why didn't I hear about those school shootings every single day? The answer is because there were not 18 school shootings in the month of January. There were more like 3. Okay? Even one is terrible. But there were no mass school shootings, and the ones that exist are bad enough without you having to blow it up to 18.
At George Adert Road, Hell will have a special place for certain people. Join her. At Amimek. Meanwhile in Nick, Muslim calls the TV news station to say, we believe all homosexuals should be beheaded. 10% men are fighting to protect the LGBTQ and % American from Muhammad's call for their death. Meanwhile, liberals continue to flood America with these jihadists.
Correct?
I don't agree with it.
They're beheaded, and that, I believe, I'm going to fight as hard as I can with all of my Muslim brothers and sisters to make Sharia law in the United States.
So people should be beheaded for being gay? I mean, come on.
This is
America.
a sin. No, you don't like, you're anti-Muslim?
I'm not anti-Muslims, but...
You are anti-Muslim if you're saying that about my religion.
I'm saying in America. No. I'm saying in America. You really believe people should be beheaded? I understand
We are Muslims. Yes, of course. Government should do that.
So you have no friends who are gay, Chris?
No, I don't.
Okay, and if
I don't choose to associate with those people. That lifestyle, that lifestyle is deviant, and it's against Islam, and it should,
that's
Sharia
fine to
should come
feel
to the
that way,
United
but
States.
to believe that they should be beheaded is a little extreme.
Obviously, because, well, you're going to call the whole kingdom of Saudi Arabia strange?
I'm just saying beheading people for their sexual preference is extreme. Those are my words.
So you're against, but that's against Muslim countries then. You're against Islam. And
I'm not against Islam. There are people who are Islamic in America.
Do you know Sharia law?
Do I? No, I'm not. I was raised Catholic. Sorry.
Well, maybe you should look into Syria and look into the countries that have Sharia and what the death penalty is for being gay.
At Fed Up with Swum. I am here for people who follow you and are sincerely interested in learning how to build friends and family. Twitter is for opinions, it is not a debate forum. I am also fed up with insults from new followers. So if you find yourself blocked, you know why. At Red Raccoon, at Real Donald Trump. This is a message for at Real Donald Trump from Lori Alagaf. She is the mother of Alyssa Alagaf, who was murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Gunner for no gun control, no.
I just spent the last 2 hours putting the burial arrangements to my daughter's funeral, who's 14. President Trump, please do something. Do something. Action! We need it now. These kids need safety now.
At Monato. Gunner for no fair assistance log the Trump Fox News resist impeach Trump. At ISA 4031M. Pay attention when people react with anger and hostility to your boundaries. You have found the edge where they respect for your and be true to yourself. Always stand up for what is right for their feelings. At folks and friends. Judge Janine, all the warnings were there.
On everything we're hearing about, I don't want to hear another FBI agent go up to a microphone and say, we had no further identifying information. Wait a minute, you're the FBI. Some guy did the right thing and he called you and he said, this kid is on YouTube saying I want to be a professional school shooter. How many people in this country have the name Nicholas Cruz? How many people in this country have the name Nicholas with a K? How many of them have bought a gun? If we learned anything from 9/11, it's that the federal agencies don't connect with each other. This kid, all the warnings were there. All they needed to do was connect the dots, and they didn't.
Just as Department official Bruce Orr did not disclose Fusion GSP was paying his wife or was demoted from his post after the information. At Fox News. Retired police special agent Johnny NRL. The reality is gun control is not going to be the answer alone. You have to look at mental health. At Via Europe. Hungary rejects the NS position that migration has a positive effect. Janos Laser, Hungary's chief of the Prime Minister's office, said he rejects the NS position that migration has a positive effect on the economy. Alt. At Oxios. Russian bots spread program messages on Twitter after Florida shooting. The tragedy in Florida was a prime opportunity for bots and trolls to sow discord. At Thomas 1774 Payne. A Siamese lions catch and kill suspected poacher in wildlife area. Managers of a wildlife area in South Africa say a pride of lions killed a suspected poacher. The Ambabot Private Nature Reserve says the man. At Sherwood. Anderson Cooper teens are talking while so-called adult pop is silent on gun violence. Heroic teens are speaking out, while cowardly Republicans refuse to talk about gun violence.
If it's meant to be, it'll be, baby. так як нас почили мами. Усе, що цінували ми, тепер ціни немає. Усе, що добре знали ми, тепер ніхто не знає. Люди, ми в дурдомі. Дом веселка. Люди, ми в дурдомі. А чи кричи, а чи мовчи, усім тепер байдуже. Бо кожен має саме ту грошей багато дуже. А що в душі ціни немає, мені це не вмоє. Усе воно тепер не так і навіть у природі. Люди, ми в дурдомі. Дом веселка. Люди, ми в дурдомі. Де шукати втіху, там де раділи, не раніше, нині не до сміху. Без ніг на голову, а у цей світ, а у світі люди. І башнеємося у ці, немов якісь приблуди. Люди, ми в дурдомі. Дом веселка. Люди, ми в дурдомі.
Union art can be read, and it can be done by voting in the 2018 midterm elections. Let's listen to about politics. It's just about saving lives. If you have no other reason to vote, do it for our kids. At Mom's Men, make no mistake, a gun violence crisis is a gun issue. Parkland school shoots in Parkland.
In the world of fashion, gaining the support of your peers tends to precede recognition from the public. Hence, a world of fashion, gaining the support of your peers tends to precede recognition from the public, hence the appeal of international design competitions. In a disused train station in Florence, on the sidelines of the Pitti Uomo menswear salon, the Walmart Prize jury is preparing to choose 3 winners. One for women's fashion, the second for menswear, and the third, new this year, awarding innovation.
We wanted to make sure that some of these designers in previous competitions that we've had have been very innovative. They haven't been necessarily the most beautiful, but they've been very innovative. And we felt that it was the right time to develop an innovation prize that recognised the innovative as well.
Christopher Bevans wins the jury's prize for innovation. Before launching his label, Dine, in New York, he'd already collaborated with Kanye West, Nike and Adidas. His 1980s-inspired clothes draw heavily from the world of snowboarding.
The vision of fashion, that's a great question. For me, the vision of fashion is about freedom to be creative and express your ideas and with no judgments. But for me, I'm really enjoying what I do with our brand and sportswear and pushing the limits of technology.
Rex Tillerson says St. Turkey have same goals in Syria News DW 16.2018.
At the forefront of pushing the limits to wool and educating people on what they can do with
Islamic State sympathizers go on trial in Berlin News DW 15.2018.
Waterproofing the wool. Yeah.
And this is wool.
And this is wool. 100% wool.
How is it possible to have this with wool?
It's the membrane. It's the special membrane that you create with in the
Germany
factory
considering free public transportation to take on air pollution. News DW 13.2018.
And keep you warm, but allows
Polls told to denounce anti-Polish compatriots following Holocaust law. News DW 15.2018.
And how you treat the young. So, voilà.
Carnival parades draw millions across Germany. News DW 2.2018.
After studying at the London College of Fashion and working as an assistant to Vivienne Westwood and Giles Deacon, she returned to Delhi to set up her own label, Bodice.
I think it's not enough that clothes are beautiful. It's important to know how they are being made, how they're impacting the people who are making them. So there are a lot of beautiful clothes already, but I feel there's not enough thought.
From India to Bali in South Africa, the rise and fall of the Vectus Friends 24.
The vision for the future would be putting that thought in it. My collection is actually a marriage between tradition and technology. So, because in India, where I come from, there is a lot of craft techniques. There's an abundance. Hold this for me. There's an abundance of craft and age-old textiles, but they are slowly all disappearing because they're undervalued and underpaid. And a lot of them are not really
Turkish piano hopes German journalist in $10,000 as cryptocurrencies extend rally.
For the contemporary global audience. So basically I feel that it's really important to protect tradition, but have a merging of it with technology.
It has to be modern.
It has to be modern.
The menswear prize, meanwhile,
Renault
goes
posts
to a
record
Brit,
earnings,
Matthew
strengthening
Miller.
Lawson's hand.
The designer started his career as a ceramicist, but he eventually turned his attentions to designing clothes with an emphasis on versatility.
Detail. I'm obsessed. It's all men are. We're all geeks. We all love detail. That little thing that you can focus on, it does something or means something or can help something, and that's masculinity. It's a real focus on them small things, that bragging rights, that ritual, and that's what that's what menswear is. It's detail. The devil's in the detail.
The clothes were on trial, but so too were the designers as they faced down a torrent of questions from the panel. One of the judges was Philip Lim, an American designer of Thai descent. His style oscillates between urban romanticism and bohemian.
I think fashion is quite exciting. It's changing so much. It's both exciting and scary, because I think that we are at a space where fashion is finding its space in the world, and things have changed so much and so quickly.
Alex Jones info hours there is a run for your mind.
All the old ways, even all the business models, even retail models.
Doka Insanity, another judge blocks Trump. Alex Jones info hours there is a run for your mind.
Technology, everyone's kind of caught in between different cycles of being ready.
White House blames Russia for not picking the most costly cyber attack in history. Wired.
Right now, the key is to be as adaptable as possible, while maintaining your point of view.
These days, fashion is all about telling stories.
When I started, we were designing.
Theresa May and Angela Merkel as Brexit talks could see conversation right.
Media trained. You have to be like a personality. You have to like.
Where's your phone right now? It's probably nearby.
I need to know more. Wacky stuff going on all over the place. Carnival parades drum millions across Germany. Bar news bar DW bar 12.2018. Wait, you need to hear this.
Check your balance or transactions, or transfer money between accounts. Do it with the Navy Federal mobile app. Go try it out.
I'm not done.
Or try it out later. Download the Navy
Millions of revelers have braved cold winter weather to attend traditional carnival parades in Germany. The processions often take on a highly satirical note. Volkswagens roll in the Dieselgate emissions scandal is satirized on this float. Despite what looks like a catastrophe, however, the car makers still managed to achieve record sales in Germany in 2017. The Rhineland in Germany is famous for its anti-authoritarianism. So these two political figures are perhaps obvious targets. The leader of the ruling line Justice Peace in Poland, Jarosław Kaczynski, who is bearing a sickle with the word dictatorships, and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban with a hammer, set to smash legal rights. As was well to be expected, as President Donald Trump provided German float makers with plenty of material. Here, he is seen in a compromising pose with a Russian bear seemingly in full control. Social Democrat Martin Schulz, who looks to have been one of the big losers as Germany tries to establish a coalition government, got a very unhappy figure at the Düsseldorf parade. But the makers of this float think it is all his own fault, according to the pun written on the grinder. Democratic Task Force outlines voting security plan, with first primary just weeks away. Bar Wired. I was sifting through some things and I found this. In recent weeks, intelligence officials have said clearly that Russia will likely meddle again in the 2018 midterm election season, which begins in Texas in less than 3 weeks. United States election systems, though, have not yet adequately improved defenses since the 2016 presidential election. On Wednesday, House Democrats outlined a last-ditch effort to step up security while there's still some time. The Congressional Task Force on Election Security, which counts not a single Republican among its members, announced a findings report and new bill outlining a comprehensive plan for funding and enforcing minimum security standards for all US election systems. 3 other election security bills have already been introduced, but neither the Senate nor the House has held an election security hearing so far. President Donald Trump's continuing skepticism that Russia interfered in the 2016 election process has also slowed momentum. Regardless of what President Trump believes, there is no disagreement among security experts that Russia carried out a cyber-enabled influence campaign to meddle in our democratic process, Task Force co-chair Benny Thompson said on Wednesday. Last week, Trump's Secretary of State candidly admitted that we are no better prepared to stop Russia than we were in 2016. Time is short. Our 2018 and 2020 elections are just around the corner. The group's proposal outlines 10 recommendations for securing election infrastructure. Some are widely promoted measures, like ensuring that all US voting machines produce voter-verified paper backups, replacing aging machines that are potentially more vulnerable to attack, improving communication between federal and local officials, and offering support so all states can conduct risk-limiting statistical audits after elections. If we wanted to replace all of the equipment and infrastructure that needed to be replaced by the 2020 election, even now we are running out of time. Zero-gravity party plane takes off in Frankfurt, Germany. Bar News Bar DW Bar 072.2018. What's up with all the stuff that's been going on lately? A Frankfurt music festival turned an astronaut training plane into a zero-gravity nightclub. Some 30 partygoers got to dance on the ceiling during the 4-hour roller coaster ride in the sky. It was one small step for man, one giant party for mankind. A music festival took its guests to new heights on Wednesday as they experienced weightlessness on a zero-gravity plane. Event organizers Big City Beats chartered a Zergerbus, a research plane that is used to train astronauts from the European Space Agency ESA, as part of the annual World Club Do Music Festival in Frankfurt. Redmore Berlin celebrates the power of techno as the Treasure turns 25. The 4-hour trip from the German city flew over the Mediterranean, providing its guests on board a total of 5 minutes of zero gravity. The plane generated the in-flight weightlessness by doing a total of 16 parabolic fly where it does a controlled drop out of the sky. I'm glad I don't have to live with people, sheesh. Amid unprecedented pressures on healthcare facilities in eastern Ghouta and the repeated failure to deliver life-saving aid, time is running out to improve the humanitarian situation and mitigate misery in the Damascus suburb, says medical researcher Dr. Anis Barrow. South African lawmakers elect Cyril Ramaphosa as President France 24. Just take a minute and look at this. International News 24/7. Text by Friends24. Follow Friends24_ on Twitter. Latest update 2018-02-15. I will try very hard not to disappoint the people of South Africa, said Ramaphosa in a speech to Parliament shortly after his appointment. Calling for unity after turbulent years under Zuma, which saw corruption and unemployment levels rise, the 65-year-old veteran politician and businessman said the issue of corruption was on our radar screen. G. Willikers. Attorney and Tannenbaum peacemaker Hein Kavowicz writes about the deteriorating humanitarian situation for women in and around Idlib, where she co-founded the Jarjanas and Daria Women's Peace Center with the EU last year.
I love the way you whine. I want a chance to make you mine. I'm gonna make you feel good, laughing, live.
Nirav Modi is thought to have left country before investigators began criminal case against him. At Real Savira, it is time to put armed security in every public school in America. Why is this even a discussion? Why would any sane person oppose it? What exactly is the downside to having armed security in every public school? Everyone knew that Nicholas Cruz was deeply disturbed. He'd been in and out of mental health treatment. He'd been kicked out of school. His Instagram page was full of pictures of dead animals and
someone's decided I'm going to commit this crime, they'll find a way to get the gun to do it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a law that makes it harder. It just means understand, to be honest. It isn't going to stop this from happening. You could still pass the law, per se, but you're still going to have these horrible attacks.
What do you say to that? Gun laws wouldn't stop this, you say.
I absolutely disagree. What I say to both parties, in state legislatures across America and in Congress and at the executive level, is that I say we implement whatever programs we can. It doesn't matter. We are not taking steps to prevent the deaths of thousands of children every year. And as a result of that, more are going to continue dying unless we take action. And honestly, any step. If we want better mental health care, let's do that. But if we also want gun control, let's do that. You are the politicians. You guys can compromise, get some stuff done, and save some lives.
Look,
at the Tungav, at Ado National. While we are all talking about the at Ado National, just a daily reminder that they are behind the majority of the censorship on the web.
The last number we'll see here at this cross-country men's 15-kilometre in freestyle. He's making the most of this. It's been a hard race for him. Took up the sport in 2017.
At Online Magazine. At Desperate Housewives in Waterford.
Yeah, stop it.
Leave him, bro. Leave him.
Mimi, stand in there. Mimi.
Go on, buddy! Amory, get up,
Familiar. FB was warned about the school shooter back in September, but they were too busy undermining the newly elected president to take care of such important issues.
I'm not the one that you want me to be. Don't call me up at 2 a.m. tonight. It feels so damn
At folks and friends. Red Skull is one magic law when he stopped shooting
dozens of laws already, including murdering people. It's against the law. So, this idea that one magic law is going to stop the next one from happening, it's not.
At Online Magazine. Back in England everything is quiet. There are no special occurrences or problems. However, the mention of CK organizations like police, Michigan 5, etc. to take off this dangerous idiot from the street.
You want to do this thing with me? You really want to be that famous? Niggas in the hood might hate me, but they don't try shit because they know that 38 ain't got no safety. Yeah, remember that, yeah? That's your head, Make sure you know that, Don't make me come around there looking for you. I don't give a fuck about no police, yeah? Make sure you know what you're doing. Pussy ass niggas. Hey, cut that.
At Postantrum, at Coca with the great thanks for acknowledging my great leadership. I saw the red hat in Mugga. Muggad come from at treasonous Trump woke them first devinunus traitor fat nixonry at the name on rabla money fuckner cult 45 impeach Trump Pollery and traitor Pollery in Russia got blood in our hands.
Then a cigarette in my mouth. I know it hurt, but baby we can't stop now. Baby we can't stop now. Don't go to war for me. I'm not the one that you want me to be. Don't call me up at 2 a.m. tonight. It feels so damn good, and I wish you would. And don't cry no more for me. Don't waste your time convincing me that maybe someday we'll get it right. 'Cause we never could. I wish that we would, but we won't, so just don't. We won't, so just don't. But we won't, so just don't. Don't. Keep on searching for the words I wanna say. I'm hitting the bottle like a younger Hemingway. Hey, you're really something. Am I interrupting? It looks like you wanna leave, for sure there is a way. I
news today, the like button, and if you're new, make sure they hit that subscribe button. Welcome to Breaking News Today. The like button, and if you're new, make sure they hit that subscribe button down below and turn on my post.
Bette Midler is echoing much of the Hollywood crowd's hypocrisy when it comes to the latest school shooting. Immediately, the leftists took their bogus moral superiority to new heights as Midler told President Donald Trump and his supporters, "FCK your prayers." Midler says prayers are useless as she blames the Second Amendment and the National Rifle Association for mass shootings. Well, she just got burned, big time. Bette Midler, Rosie O'Donnell, Cher, and Chelsea Handler are all suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. They aren't the only ones in the Hollywood crowd with a bad case of TDS, though. In fact, it has pretty much infected all of Tinseltown. And, when we have a tragedy like this mass shooting at a high school in Florida, they all turn their wrath on Trump and guns. To them, President Trump includes all of his supporters, anyone who loves America and what she stands for and believes that the Founding Fathers founded this country on Judeo-Christian principles, and anyone who supports the Second Amendment. Those are the deplorables, and the mass shootings fall to Miller lies with those deplorables. Raise a terrorist organization.
Zero Gravity Party plane takes off in Frankfurt, Germany. DW072.2018.
In place. What's your number, dollar? I will pay IT myself if you will stop killing our children, tweeted an obviously enraged Bette Midler. If you read through the Divine Miss M's Twitter feed, it reads like a hate fest to Christians and gun owners. FCK, you and your worthless thoughts and prayers, you and your obfuscating shills got what you wanted, dollar, while our kids get to die in school, tweeted Midler. It was directed at a Mitch McConnell
Democratic Task Force outlines voting security plan, with first primary just weeks away.
Confiscation is the answer. The left and their media whores have been non-stop screaming that something must be done. The government must fix these mass shootings at schools, and anyone who disagrees with their fix is loathsome.
Angela Merkel must stop cozying up to Turkey. German opposition demands news. DW 15.2018.
Well, those supposedly loathsome, uneducated deplorables
now you could road race and win from your living room wire.
Midler and her Hollywood crowd. You and your obfuscating shills in the entertainment industry glorify violence, especially gun violence, in movies and TV, which teaches kids that's the best way to solve problems and get even. So spare me your righteous indignation. Blasted bean counter. Responding to Midler in a tweet. Then, there was a one-liner that really hit the nail on the head. Twitter user the Mullet 2.018
Chinese tourists
tweeted
sooner New Year holiday travel spending.
Now do Planned Parenthood, which caused one of Midler's minions, Better World, to go nuts, responding, "You're actually drawing a moral equivalence between the planned execution of teens and adults to a woman making the difficult choice to terminate the unwanted pregnancy of a fetus with no neurological system, no functioning brain, no spinal cord. Seriously. Unfortunately, All of the facts in her response are unequivocally false, and all it takes is a simple Google search for fetal development to know it. Yeah, something happened in the 1970s. Abortion was made legal and mass shootings rapidly started to rise. Do you think that maybe it's not the gun's fault, but it's society's fault for taking the sanctity of life and throwing it in the trash? If we have a culture where mothers kill their own children in their wombs, then life is not valued, and it's no longer sacred. Killing becomes normal, acceptable.
Now you could erase someone from your living room wire.
Released by the Congressional Research Service, the average rate of mass public shootings, defined by the FBI as a multiple homicide incident in which 4 or more victims are murdered with firearms, within one event, in at least one or more public locations, has gone up from being a singular, annual tragedy in the 1970s, a 1.1 incidence rate, to about 4.5 incidences per year between 2010 and 2013, reports Time. The sole purpose of Planned Parenthood is abortions, and 97.9% of abortions are done when there is nothing wrong
Congress
with the
News
mother
Senate
or the
blocks DACA
child,
immigration
according
plans.
to statistics. So, these loser leftists can stop with their
Facebook has
rationale
creepy
as to
history of
why
you Alex Jones
abortions
info
must
hours
be
there so
legal.
we're on for your mind.
Even prior to Roe vs. Wade, if a mother's health was in danger, she would have the option of abortion.
Lawyer puts arm around
Why
South
are
Florida
we
gun on Nicholas
producing
Cruz in
more
court?
sociopaths who are going out and doing these mass shootings?
Will robots
As a
need
registered
support?
nurse
Alex
who
Jones
worked
info
for
hours
5
there so we're on
years
for
as
your
the
mind.
charge nurse of the psychiatric locked ward at LA County USC Medical Center, the untreated mental illness myth of mass shooters is just that. They suffer from an antisocial personality disorder, which is not treated with medication. There is no imbalance in their brains. It happens in childhood, where there isn't a good bond with their mothers. But, don't tell the feminist movement that their utopia of abortions and mothers having to work instead of caring for their children can lead to mass shootings. You'll be labeled a crazy right-wing fanatic and a woman hater. So, Bette Midler and her Hollywood
Critical
crowd
patients
who
in
blame
Eastern
mass
Gaudius
shootings
as
on
bargaining
guns,
chips Syria deeply.
President Donald Trump and his supporters are the uneducated, loathsome
Adam
fools
Schiff can't he stop
that have
buying
no
Alex
clue
Jones
what
info
they
hours
are
there so we're on for
talking
your
about.
mind.
I'll stick with praying to God for our country, which has killed 59 million Americans
Never afraid
in
French
the womb
16-year-old
since
snowboarder prayer wins surprise
1973,
Olympic
and
silver
I'll
France
pray for all
24.
who are victims to violence.
Sri, what about inflation? Are you convinced that we're going to see inflation start coming through?
Nera, no, I don't think so. Despite what we saw with wages in January and what we saw with the recent inflation numbers, I still don't see a pickup in inflation, and here are the reasons. Even though average hourly earnings increased by 2.9% year on year, average earnings during the week and during the month of January were actually
How Russia
lower
benefits from Turkey as
in
Afrin
January
Operation
than
Syria
they were in
deeply.
December, and that is disinflationary. Second, you saw that in the inflation numbers, the market got spooked about the 0.3% month-on-month that they saw on core CPI inflation rate in January, but up from 0.2%. But if you saw what happened a year ago from December
Carnival parades from millions across Germany. News DW will 2.2018.
it was the same increase from 0.2 to 0.3. By March
Intel
of
chief sound alarm on China
2017,
threat Alex
we
Jones
were
info
down
hours there
to
so we're on for your mind.
-0.1%. The problem is seeing single month in isolation. If you look at 3 or 4 months together, You
Alex
see that
Jones info
inflation
hours there
does
is
not
one
pick
for
up.
your mind.
Yeah. Let me take you to a chart, Sri.
The humanitarian crisis in Syria's northern de-escalation zone Syria
10-year
deeply.
treasury yield could be making a new range.
Restructure and thus take possible power share in agreements for Syria
higher
deeply.
yields comes from inflation. Where does it come from then?
The risk in terms of the bond yield, I think, does not come
New
from
antibiotic
inflation.
found in
Neera.
the
You're
Alex Jones info
absolutely
hours
right.
there
That
is
is
one
my
for
view.
your mind.
It comes though from government policy. We saw U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin talk down the dollar when he was in Davos on January 24th. That hurts the bond yield. That hurts the whole thing, and we haven't recovered from that situation yet. We still don't have a global trade treaty. The NAFTA is hanging by a thread as to whether it will go on or not. And if NAFTA is
Fannie Mae
actually
wants another
cancelled,
taxpayer bailout. Alex Jones info hours there is one for your mind.
suggested, it's going to be further negative for U.S. bond yields.
Locating. Would you just look at this? Gosh. Hash politics bar Yahoo News latest news ampersand headlines. Check us out. Chance of no more guns. Erupt at a Florida vigil for the victims of the Parkland massacre, but it's unclear how long the outrage will last. The Trump administration has an unprecedented turnover rate of 34%, and scores of key posts remain unfilled. What we know now is that Trump isn't a guy who asks for help. He's not inspired by talent and intellect, he's threatened by it. From Governor Rick Scott's suggestion that guns should be kept from the mentally ill to Florida vigil where chance of no more guns erupted, there are signs America may be ready for action. After the school shooting in Florida, President Trump emphasized the importance of mental health. But one of his first actions in the White House was to reverse Barack Obama's recommendation for new regulation that would prevent people with severe mental health illnesses from purchasing guns. Former classmates of the suspect in Wednesday's deadly mass shooting at a Florida high school say they weren't surprised to discover he was the alleged gunman.
It's a beautiful, beautiful life. Beautiful, beautiful life. Beautiful, beautiful life. With you. Anywhere you wanna go, I follow. Mountain or a river low, I follow. Take me to the
At MSIMENFINK, who. At John Cooper tweets, At HuffPost poll, Senate votes down multiple bills to help Dreamers after veto threat by Trump on bipartisan proposals via at HuffPost poll. President Donald Trump's administration rejected multiple bipartisan proposals. At Orwell Mood. Wait for it. At Tucker Carlson, at Fox News 458. Every decent person is horrified by what happened yesterday in Parkland. Every thoughtful person knows something horrible is going on in American society. Tragedies like this happen for a reason, and it probably doesn't have much to do with guns. Tucker at Fox News.
You. I would have taken the bullets for you. I would have protected you. And I'm sorry I wasn't there. I love you with all my heart. And so does your dad.
At Captain Slot 2018. It has been reported that Russia funneled dollar through the NRA, who later contributed millions to the Trump campaign. This is why Trump will never support new guns, since Luzner already bought Trump before he was even elected, and Russian bots flood Twitter after each mass shooting. At Orwell Mood, angry.
Catastrophe, threatening to veto it. In the White House now placing the blame on Democrats, saying in a statement, today the Schumer Democrats in the Senate demonstrated again that they are not serious about DACA, they are not serious about immigration reform, and they are not serious about homeland security. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the president is the one to blame.
I regret that the only bipartisan effort of the group of moderate senators to come up with a bipartisan compromise couldn't get the necessary 60 votes. There's only one reason why the Senate will be unable to reach a bipartisan solution to DACA: President Trump.
3 Democrats crossed the aisle on the Grassley bill, the last failure, which most closely aligned with the president's 4 pillars, but it went down in flames in a 39-60 vote. Now the House takes it up with the most conservative bill we've seen yet, being put forth by Congressman Bob Goodlatte. It very closely resembles the president's goals, but lawmakers are in recess. They're off next week. We'll be back till February 26th, and we've got that March 5th deadline looming for the Dreamers.
Maybe I'm feeling you a little bit too much, but I like the way you feel and you touch, and I like the way you kiss and you cuss, and I love that it's not love, it's lust. Now baby, sit back and relax and think about the man that you with. I went from the back to the jet to the yacht, from being round keys to a house and the keys to the dock. I am what they not to. I am what they wanna be. It's been like that since I handled the rock. I'm a seasoned vet, and when it comes to this, with my trouble, please the best. I'm not a player, baby. I just love sex. Now let's get into this freaky other things and make this wonderful summertime. We had a summer flame, and I told my heart it was just a summer thing, but you made me fall. In the spring, from June to December, was you and me, and I told my heart it was just a summer thing, that it was just a summer thing.
Justice Department official Bruce Orr did not disclose Fusion GPS was paying his wife or was demoted from his post after the information. At English Joshua, please sign here.
Minimize the casualties to civilians and avoid actions that would escalate tensions in that area. From the beginning, we've been transparent with Turkey regarding our objectives in Syria. Our relationship with our NATO ally Turkey is enduring and strategic. I again conveyed this message to President Erdogan and to the foreign minister today, as have many other U.S. officials. We have always been clear with Turkey that the weapons provided to the Syrian Democratic Forces would be limited, mission-specific, and provided on an incremental basis to achieve military objectives only.
Find out more online at offthebeatentrack.sure.com.
At Parker Molloy, at Mersnickerto, at Mersnickerton is so weird. At Waxpadupto, at sent to me on November 8, 2016 Pat to me one because he had convinced some moderate Democrats that he would act on guns. Since then, he has done nothing but think, pray, and receive donations from UNRWA. Caucus HFC, Chairman Mark Meadows made it clear Wednesday that the House Republican Conference could need new lead. At 105. Your Voice America 215, Immigration fails Senator. Welcome with the great, at real Donald Trump. Runner tired of winning yet at real Donald Trump times up Donald Trump, a play-by model, and a system for concealing infidelity. One woman's account of the clandestine meetings, financial transactions, and legal pacts that aid a future president's extramarital affairs. At Folks and Friends. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas drug students Zachary Wells in Coat and Aubrey Polk covering classmates with Kevlar mats
so
to
our
keep them
backdrop
safe.
for the targets that we shoot are actually Kevlar sheets that we hang off of a curtain. So we brought all those stands up that are made of Kevlar. It's a bulletproof vest material. We brought them up, put everybody behind them. That way they were all at least somewhat safe, because the Kevlar, it wouldn't have stopped the bullet, but it would have slowed it down a lot. So the damage that somebody would have received from it, God forbid, would have been a lot less than it would have been.
So I'm in a program called Police Explorers with the Coral Springs Police Department, and we did some active shooter training a while ago, and I remember they said exactly, school shooters, they'll use the tactic of fire alarms to get kids to come out of the classrooms, and I just put two and two together when it happened, brought the kids back to the classroom. Me and him put up the Kevlar walls. We took some of the tables that we use as desks and stood them up for cover, and we're standing there with 2x4s ready to fight if we needed to.
What a couple of smart kids.
Wow. Really smart.
They were they were leading 60 high school students at the time, and they thought, oh, where do we go? We go to the classroom. And then they remembered they had the Kevlar sheets, which they put up so that the guy would not look in the room and see that there were a bunch of people in there, 60 people in there. And as the backup plan, in case it came to it, one of them grabbed a 2x4 and the other grabbed a fire extinguisher. And if the shooter came in there, they were going to do everything they could
Just
to
really
stop
took
it.
a leadership role in that, leading kids, leading even teachers, as they said in the interview, into the classroom and into safety. I mean,
At PolitiFact. No, 4 million Democrat votes were not declared fraudulent. There is no evidence that millions of votes by Democrats were tossed due to faulty voting machines, despite what a headline said on Facebook. Breaking 4 million Democrat votes just declared. A Democrat transgender running for Congress in Wisconsin just got busted for committing grand larceny. Following her equestrian excursion, Beckley suffered from an irritated left eye. The discomfort dragged on for a week before Beckley noticed somewhat. The shares of this real estate company were recently upgraded by Raymond James to outperform, and 7 analysts have raised their EPS estimates for the comp. John Cooper tweets, Donald Trump, a play-by model, and a system for concealing infidelity. One woman's account of the clandestine meetings, financial transactions, and legal pacts that aid a future president's extramarital affairs.
Three times the gun murders.
Mm-hmm.
So
but it's
there's
not just easy access to guns. You have almost just as many guns in Canada per capita.
Well, there's much more regulation around them. And I think there's also the aspects here where you have a serious contagion effect that's happening. where people are copycatting, they're getting more deadly, but there's also no political will to solve this. It was only 139 days ago that somebody in Las Vegas shot over 900 people, 58 of them killed, 850 wounded. And that person used a device called a bump stock, which turns a semi-automatic assault rifle into a fully automatic weapon. There was chatter for maybe 3 or 4 days about banning that, and then they did nothing.
Right.
And every single time this happens, there's discussion, and then nothing.
Okay.
And my point of view is simply, we have to stop this. There has to be some way. It's not good enough to just say this is part of life now. When the idea that the rest of the world thinks that the U.S. is nuts when it comes to guns is relevant. It should be a wake-up call. We have children in Florida in November who are buying inserts into their backpacks that were bulletproof so they could survive a massacre like this. That is not normal. These children had to go through drills to figure out what to do when an active shooter comes in, and then they came in yesterday. It is totally crazy that the state of our debate is such where we're around the edges discussing this when we are the only country that this happens regularly. And the attitude of politicians that nothing can be done when it's been solved everywhere else is insane. This 19-year-old kid had a very easy time obtaining a weapon of war legally. That is nuts. Because an AR-15
At Sherlock,
can kill dozens
thousands
of
break
people
out chanting no more guns at massive vigil for Florida shooting victims. May be silent, but residents of Parkland, Florida are making their voices heard. At Breitbart News, doubts grow about claims Florida shooter tied to white supremacist group. At the Trump train, we owe illegal immigrants nothing. We owe our veterans everything. President Trump has vowed to boost the standard of living for veterans while Obama gutted the. It is about time our country got its priorities straightened out. There is a lot of interest in the idea of 100% renewable energy both from a political and technical perspective. To understand some of the issues surrounding this goal, Donald Trump engaged in elaborate efforts to cover his tracks while engaging in multiple extramarital affairs, according to Ronan Farrow Slot. At the Kitchenista, at Jamila Hill here disgusting.
Dennis Yücel is the first German journalist to be detained in Turkey, and his arrest has sparked massive protests all across the country. Even here in Berlin, you can see a massive car convoy honking, people waving signs, making their way to the Turkish embassy.
Wir haben mit viel gerechnet, aber nicht, dass das Worst-Case-Szenario passiert. Und die Stimmung hier war niedergeschlagen, auch so wie unter Schock. Und dieser Schock ist auch noch nicht vorbei.
At first Bureau. Angry here are the clubhouse members with a rating from and from districts with a partisan voter index of R3 or less. Vote them out.
Euronews'a verdiği özel röportajda önemli açıklamalarda bulunan Rusya Dışişleri Bakanı Sergey Lavrov, ABD'nin Suriye'de kalıcı olmak istediğini ve bu nedenle Kürtleri desteklediğini ileri sürdü. Açıklamalar ABD'nin Esad rejimine bağlı çok sayıda paralı Rus askerini bombalayarak öldürdüğü raporlarının doğrulanmasının ardından geldi.
Они последовательно в течение, наверное, 2-3
ABD bölgede 2 veya 3 yıldır bulunuyor. Yani Washington liderliğindeki koalisyondan bu yana. Tüm bu zaman dilimi içerisinde ABD özel güçleri ve diğer birimleri orada Suriye toprağında illegal şekilde bulunuyor. Şam'dan herhangi bir davet almadan veya Birleşmiş Milletler Güvenlik Konseyi onayı olmadan. Lavrov, ABD'nin özel bir Kürt bölgesi oluşturmak niyetinde olduğunu ileri sürdü. Artık çok net ki verdikleri tüm sözlere rağmen ABD'nin askeri unsurlarıyla Suriye'de ilelebet kalma gibi bir stratejisi var. Tıpkı Irak'ta ve Afganistan'da olduğu gibi. Dolayısıyla Suriye'ye temelli yerleştiklerinde orada Kürtlerin de yardımıyla büyük bir bölgeyi tamamen Arap kökenli Suriyelilerden izole edip ülke hükümranlığını bozarak özel bir bölge yaratacaklar.
Islamic State sympathizers go on trial in Berlin News DW 15.2018. Turkish court-organized German ambassador and treated Kurdish politician as trial News DW 14.2018.
Sözlerine de ilişkin açıklamalar yaparak gelinen noktanın sürpriz olmadığını,
Türkiye'nin pozisyonunun her zaman belli olduğunu, defalarca yapılan uyarıları ABD'nin dikkate almadığını söyledi. Australia Extramarital Affairs Trains Coalition News DW 16.2018. Never afraid French 16-year-old snowboarder Pierre wins surprise Olympic silver France 24. Carnival parades draw millions across Germany. News DW 12.2018. Renault posts record earnings, strengthening losses hang. Syrian conflict isn't over. Don't you forget the Syrians love Syria deeply. Restructuring the state, possible power sharing agreements for Syria deeply. Barack and Michelle Obama portraits unveiled in Washington. News DW 12.2018. Trump's infrastructure plan threatens to leave little cities behind. Wired. Democratic task force outlines voting security plan, with first primary just weeks away. Wired. Facebook has creepy history of you. Alex Jones info hours. There's a war on for your mind. The story of KFR Noble Hospital. 41 minutes of hell. Syria deeply. Florida shooter trouble will know white supremacist ties. No light at the end of a tunnel in eastern Ghouta, Syria deeply. White House blames Russia for NotPetya, the most costly cyber attack in history. Wired.
24 HRS after finding his daughter dead at Florida shooting, victim as father gets sick news. Right after the Florida school shooting,
Dreamers in limbo as Senate rejects immigration bills. Friends 24.
A man named Andre Pollock was photographed while searching for his daughter, Meadow Pollock. The picture went viral on social media, but not for the reason you might think. It didn't go viral because
Why Syria and the US clashed for control east of Euphrates. Syria deeply.
His eyes showed such deep distress as he worried about the worst possible situation. But that when hard leftists saw something else and blasted the family in the worst way possible. Liberals on social media made it go viral because he was wearing a Trump-Pence 2020 t-shirt. The insults went as far as to accuse President Trump of causing the shooting, and some even saying they don't feel sorry for the father because he voted for our president. Yes, that has
Instagram removes post after Russia watched the borders.
The liberals have become so unhinged that they can't even feel sorry for a father who later said she's gone when asked if he had found his daughter. Via MSN. Parkland, Florida. The 19-year-old accused of gunning down 17 people at his former high school admitted he carried out the shooting rampage, authorities said in court papers filed Thursday. Police wrote that Nicholas Cruz, who has been charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder, told officers that he walked into Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Wednesday.
Iran-Israel battle openly in race to define rules of a game. NBC News.
Students in the hallways and outside on the school's grounds. Once students began to flee the carnage, Cruz dropped his rifle and vest packed with additional ammunition so he could blend into the crowd.
Democrats label chain migration racist. Alex Jones. InfoWars. There's a war on for your mind.
Taken an Uber to the school, officials wrote, so he fled on foot along
from India to buying South Africa. The rise and fall of a Gupta's. Friends 24.
Not long afterward walking on a residential street. The revelations came as police vowed to make sure that justice is served after one of the country's deadliest school shootings. A day after the Valentine's Day shooting rampage, authorities had not publicly announced a motivation for the carnage, but they were digging into elements of Cruz's troubled past, including a pattern of disciplinary issues and unnerving behavior. Also on Thursday, FBI investigators were pursuing information suggesting that Cruz might have been associated with a Florida-based white supremacist group. But agents were still trying to determine the extent of his involvement with the group, if any, according to a
Syria 2018. The major issues for the year ahead. Syria deeply.
Discussing an ongoing investigation. It was not immediately clear what connection might exist between the shooting rampage and Cruz's possible link to the group. Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel said that authorities were still looking into whether he was indeed a member of the group. This community is hurting right now. Today's a day of healing, he said at a briefing Thursday morning. Today's a day of mourning. Israel said that police have identified all of the victims and plan to release their names later in the day. Some were students, but at least one staff member, a beloved football coach who had attended the school before returning to work there, was among the dead. The coach, Aaron Weiss, was shot after throwing himself in front of students. The
Coinbase is erratically overcharging some users and emptying their bank accounts.
He had selflessly shielded students from the shooter and died a hero. A close-up of text on a white background, copyright provided by WP Company LLC/B/A. The Washington Post. In addition to the 17 killed in the school and outside, 15 people were wounded, authorities said. 3 of them remained in critical condition Thursday, while some others were still hospitalized. Israel said it was a pretty good assumption that the shooter had unspecified mental health issues. During a news conference after Cruz's court hearing, the public defender representing him described the 19-year-old as a broken young man who is very saddened by what happened. Cruz is on suicide watch, he added. This is an emotionally
More than 10,000 Afghan civilians killed or wounded last year, UN
the public
says.
Defender told reporters. He has been through a lot of trauma. He has suffered significant mental illness, and significant mental trauma. But while school officials, students and others who knew him had sensed that something was off with Cruz before the attack, none of that was enough to stop the teenager from purchasing the gun officials said was used in the attack. Cruz bought the AR-15 himself legally, and so far it is the only gun authorities have recovered as part of the investigation, said Peter J. Forselli, special agent in charge of the Miami Field Division of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The court
SEC blocks Chinese takeover of Chicago Stock Exchange. The New York Times.
2017. In his social media postings, Cruz
Jimmy
was
Kimmel
shown
shreds Trump
wielding
for doing
other
worse than nothing to
firearms.
stop gun
So
violence.
officials
HuffPost.
continue looking for any additional weapons, but they have not found any so far, Forselli said in an interview Thursday.
Diverl. Take a good look at what I just found. Kylie Jenner still talks to Tyga. Rapper says there is no bad hash blood. I was sifting through some things and I found this. Okay for anyone to be friends with their ex. Life of Kylie star Kylie Jenner is proving to everyone that the answer is yes, since she has maintained a friendly relationship with her ex-boyfriend, Tyga. During an appearance on the morning show Everyday Struggle on Wednesday, the 28-year-old rapper told DJ Academics and Nadesk Alexis that he and Jenner communicate here and there. The finality of their breakup last April 2017 took the world by storm, since they have been on and off for the past couple of years. But last year, it looked like the 20-year-old Jenner moved on for good when she started dating Houston rapper, Travis Scott. And even got pregnant with his baby. It must have been a painful ordeal for Tyga to lose Jenner, but he said that there is no bad blood between them. Did Kylie really expletive, you up like that man? DJ Academics asked him. Major new iOS bug can hash crash phones and disable access to apps and iMessages. The Verge. When I realized what this was, had a shockingly bad week of software problems just before the end of 2017, and it looks like 2018 isn't starting so well either. A new bug has been discovered in iOS 11 that lets people send a specific character that will crash any phone and block access to the Messages app in iOS and popular apps like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Outlook for iOS, and Mail. Italian blog Mobile World spotted the bug, and we've tested it successfully on multiple iPhones running iOS 11 2.5, and found it also works on the macOS versions of Safari and Messages. Apple plans to fix the problem in an iOS update before the release of iOS 11.3 this spring. The bug itself involves sending an Indian language Telugu character to devices, and Apple's iOS Springboard will crash once the message has been received. Messages will no longer open as the app is trying and failing to load the character, and it appears that the only way to gain access to your iMessages is to have another friend send you a message and try to delete the thread that contained the bad character. We also tested the bug on third-party apps like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Mail, and Outlook for iOS and found that these apps can become disabled once a message is received. It might be difficult to fix and delete the problem message for apps like WhatsApp, unless you have web access enabled. Telegram and Skype appear to be unaffected. The public beta version of iOS 11.3 is also unaffected. It appears Apple was made aware of the problem at least 3 days ago, and plans to address it in an iOS update soon. Another iOS bug is crashing iPhones and disabling access to iMessage https://tico/920is7k4pic twitter.com/15rip7pp8. This isn't the first time that iOS has crashed due to weird characters, URLs, or even videos. Last month a single link could freeze any phone, but Apple was able to resolve it with the release of iOS 11 2.5. Back in 2015 a tiny string of text disabled iMessage. And a year later in 2016 a 5-second video crashed phones. Apple also experienced issues with an iOS 11 bug in December that crashed phones, and the company took the unusual step of issuing a significant iOS update just hours after the bug started occurring. SEC blocks #Chinese takeover of Chicago Stock Exchange. The New York Times. I always find the weirdest things. A federal securities regulator on Thursday struck down the proposed $20 million acquisition of a Chicago-based trading hub, the Chicago Stock Exchange, by a Chinese-owned company. The Securities and Exchange Commission said it blocked the deal because of a lack of transparency in the details, including an inability to identify who exactly would control the exchange. The proposed deal, in which a subsidiary of the Chongqing Caucasian enterprise group was to buy the exchange, drew sharp criticisms from Republican and Democratic lawmakers, who said it could put the security and stability of United States financial markets at risk. President Trump has railed against the proposed acquisition. During a presidential debate in South Carolina in 2016 after the deal was announced, he said, "China bought the Chicago Stock Exchange. China, a Chinese company. They are taking our jobs. They are taking our wealth. They are taking our base." Lawmakers applauded the SEC's action on Thursday. The Google Chrome ad blocker has already changed the web bar wired. I don't know what to think about this. You might see fewer ads on the web from now on, but you probably won't. On Thursday, Google Chrome, the most popular browser by a wide margin, began rolling out a feature that will block ads on sites that engage in particularly annoying behavior, such as automatically playing sound, or displaying ads that can't be dismissed until a certain amount of time has passed. Google is essentially blacklisting sites that violate specific guidelines, and then trying to filter all ads that appear on those sites, not just the particularly annoying ones. Despite the advance hype, the number of sites Chrome will actually block ads on turns out to be quite small. Of the 100,000 most popular sites in North America and Europe, fewer than 1% violate the guidelines Google uses to decide whether to filter ads on a site. A Google spokesperson tells Wired. But even if Chrome never blocks ads on a page you visit, Google's move has already affected the web. The company notified sites in advance that they would be subject to the filtering, and 42% made preemptive changes, the spokesperson says, including Forbes, Los Angeles Times, Chicago Tribune, and In Touch Weekly. It may seem strange that Google, which still makes most of its revenue from advertising, blocks ads at all, especially since the company says it will even block those served by its own ad networks. But Google hopes ridding the web of its very worst ads might discourage Chrome users from installing more aggressive ad blocking software that saps revenue universally. Jimmy Kimmel shreds Trump for doing worse than nothing to stop gun violence bar post. Crazy people everywhere. Kimmel pleaded with President Donald Trump to take action on gun control after Wednesday's mass shooting at a Florida high school. His voice cracking with emotion, Kimmel called out Trump on Thursday night for offering platitudes instead of solutions. You still haven't done anything, nothing, you've literally done nothing, Kimmel said. Actually, you've done worse than nothing. Kimmel then diffused Republicans' standard reaction to mass shootings, which is to blame mental health issues rather than guns. You like to say this is a mental health issue, but one of your very first acts as president, Mr. Trump, was to actually roll back the regulations that were designed to keep firearms out of the hands of the mentally ill. You did that. Your party voted to repeal the mandates on coverage for mental health. So, I agree, this is a mental illness issue because if you don't agree we need to do something about it, you're obviously mentally ill.